Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I get to share the behind-the-scenes story of Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse as told by Mike Kelly. Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse has been family-owned and operated for nearly 90 years and is Nashville's oldest fine restaurant. Mike Kelly is the great-grandson of James Kelly, who founded the restaurant. Mike has run the establishment for over 40 years. Mike is also a former Tennessee Restaurateur of the Year and past chairman of the Nashville Metro Tourism and Convention Commission. I'm excited to share this inspiring story of one family's pursuit of the American dream. I managed to get a PDF copy of your book the day before it was released, and I spent the entire evening reading the entire thing. It was a fascinating look at American history going back to the mid-1800s when, was it your great-great-grandfather immigrated from Ireland?
My great-grandfather came over from Ireland at 14 years old. Put him on a boat in Cove, Ireland, put him on a boat, landed in New York, walked off the boat, and someone hired him, said, "You want to go to Nashville and work?" And he said, "Well, I want to go to work." So wherever Nashville is, I'll go. So that's how we got here.
The Great Potato Famine in Ireland took place between 1845 and 1852. A potato disease destroyed the main food source for the Irish population. This led to the deaths of around 1 million people. It also led to the mass immigration of another 1 million people. The young James Kelly was sent to America in hopes that he could create a better life with nothing but a roll of copper tubing under his shirt.
Well, that's what his father had taught him how to make whiskey up in the hills of Ireland, and gave him that copper tube and said he could always find a way to make a little money, but by found good water and good grain, he could make whiskey.
Of course, making whiskey back then was not unusual and was certainly legal until Prohibition came along. But looking at all the stories that you told, what was the deciding factor that you decided you wanted to tell the history of this steakhouse and your forefathers?
Dave, people are enamored with the fact that we've been in business for 88 years. And so people would always, with that kind of date, they say, "How did the restaurant get started? Why did your grandfather start the restaurant?" And of course, I would tell them that U.S. Congress in 1933 repealed Prohibition. So he was the largest bootlegger in the Southeast, and they put him out of business. So his friend said, "Why don't you just open a restaurant and sell whiskey there?" So that's how we got started. But I would tell these stories, and people just kept asking about the stories. And close friends of mine said, "You've got to write this down for the family." And I started writing it down for the family. And some people said, "God, this is pretty good." And I'm glad you enjoyed the book a lot. We've had great comments on it, which has really been, I I really was writing it for my kids and my grandson and my nieces and nephews. So they know the history, because I think it's important to know where you came from. If you don't know where you came from, it's hard to know where you're going.
It's always difficult to start a business, but Jimmy Kelly's was founded in 1934 during the Great Depression and just 1 year after the repeal of Prohibition. Yet, it stood the test of time. I wanted to know how the family had the grit, persistence, and determination to last through one of the hardest eras in American history.
Dave, I come from a long line of stubborn old Irishmen. And, we don't know any better than just keep running against the wall. And, we do what we know how to do. A generous poor, when my grandfather opened the restaurant, long before anybody knew what a mission statement was, he said, when he opened the door, he said, "Give a man a great steak, attentive service, and a generous pour of whiskey, and he'll come back over and over again." And of course, that was our motto in 1934, and it still is our motto today, 88 years later. We stick by the same principle. And again, you're not going to have you can't run any business with a one-time customers. They're very few. I know you know that for sure. We've always been very dependent on our guests coming back repeatedly. They've been awfully kind to us to support us all these years.
What are you most proud of creating this legacy that will now live on forever?
I guess I'm most proud of my employees. When I started working in the business, my father said, son, you're a good cook. I know you can do about anything in this restaurant, but he said, you can't run a restaurant by yourself. You've got to have people. And we're lucky to have a great staff. 3 of my servers have been here over 40 years. One bartender has been here 26 years and one's been here 23 years. My office manager has been with us for 24 years. My busboy has been here for 29 years. It'll be 30 years next month, which is just unheard of in the hospitality industry.
In the restaurant business, the average tenure for an employee is typically around 1 to 2 years. This can be due to several factors like low pay, long working hours, and high stress. So I wanted to know what Mike's secret was for keeping happy employees for several decades.
Dave, it's really simple. You got to remember they're all human. We're all human. I have my bad days. They have their bad days. I don't let a bad day get in the way of a long-time employee. You know, most of the time they've been fairly lenient with me because they know that I'm a human being and I can make a mistake just like they can make a mistake. But that served me pretty well.
The history of Jimmy Kelly's is rich with stories of a bygone era. There are tales about Jack Daniels, Roy Rogers, and Dale Evans, Al Capone, Bob Dylan, Grantland Rice, John J. Hooker Sr. Today, the iconic restaurant is still frequented by celebrities and devoted regulars.
Oh, that's that's a partial list of all the wonderful people that have been in the restaurant over the years. You know, it's just kind of fun. You know, I hated to even put that list in, but again, a lot of people have thought that it was interesting. There are a lot of people that have left out, and there are a lot of people that are not famous and people wouldn't know that are just wonderful people. That's one thing about the restaurant business. You get to meet such nice people, and you also get to meet them, you know, when they're celebrating an anniversary or a birthday or holidays, whatever kind of party. That's a fun part of the hospitality industry. You get to visit with people when they're at their absolute very best.
I remember Dale Carnegie stating, there's 2 things that people can't give themselves, and that's recognition and personal appreciation. And that's over 150 years old, and it's just as true today, whether you're a millennial or a baby boomer.
I'd say it's even more important in today's world, Dave. I really do. The lack of personal connection that we've tried to get by with but me telling, when my dishwasher walks out of the door at the end of the night and I tell him thank you for a great job, that means a lot to people. And when they say thank you for letting me work here, that means a lot to me.
The story of the Kelly family and their ambition and grit to sustain a business for 88 years is one we can all learn from. But what impresses me is Mike Kelly's rapport with his employees and the impact the restaurant continues to make in the community. Who would think that a great steak and a generous pour of whiskey is the secret to a successful business?
Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. We hope you feel inspired to chase your own American dream. If you would like to learn more about the story of Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse, pick up a copy of A Generous Pour, Tall Tales from the Back Room of Jimmy Kelly's, anywhere books are sold. Until next time, remember, everything in life worth having takes a little ambition and grit.